She refused to say why over the phone.
The premise of the game is that Sally refuses to tell Nancy about the ghost dogs over the phone, but literally the first thing that happens in this game is Sally telling Nancy about the ghost dogs over the phone. Sally's note in the opening scene doesn't match the note in the actual game. Nancy's car is blocked in this area, but you can't see it anywhere.
Oh, the dead maple beside the driveway.
Sally doesn't know her house has multiple dead maples.
Call M's Emporium.
You can't call Emily in this game. It's okay, I didn't want to call her anyway.
The dogs! Those dogs! Howling and snarling. Teeth and claws. Horrible.
Sally's phone apparently has a scary word filter. There's a piece of paper under the couch that is begging me to pick it up, but I can't look at it.
Rotten floorboards, watch your...
Nancy and the note say floorboards plural, but the subtitles say floorboards singular. If the floorboards break as soon as you step on them, how did Sally walk over here to put up the note? There is no reason Nancy can't use the water pump at night.
The moon's so bright, I won't need my flashlight. It's pitch black outside.
Nancy makes a point of mentioning how bright it is. At the same time, she says it's too dark to use the boat. The moon always stays in the same shape and position no matter how many days Nancy stays at the cabin. The food at the cabin never spoils no matter how many days Nancy stays there. What is Nancy eating and drinking anyway? There appears to be no source of food besides this cooler, and the water in the well is poisoned. Subtitles use the wrong who's.
That was a Strixvaria.
Red uses the Latin name for hoot owl for no apparent reason.
Now look what you've done.
Red says Nancy scared away the owls by making too much noise, but she didn't make any noise. All she did was walk off the porch. Red loudly scolds Nancy for not being quiet. Red is a jerk. The subtitles put an apostrophe before and after the T in don't.
And I've got a little outboard down there on the lake.
Red's boat is nearby, but you can't see it anywhere. Red's clothes become darker when the ghost dogs start howling. Bad animation with Red's right sleeve. Nancy doesn't ask Red or Ranger Akers for help in removing the dead maple. Part of the key is sticking out of the lock. Nancy could still grab it and twist it. The key is in the lock here, but when you look up, it disappears.
Looks like paw prints.
The existence of these paw prints is never explained. Why would the culprit have the dogs attack the cemetery? The dogs start their attack, then they patiently wait for Nancy to enter the house before they continue attacking. How are the dogs jiggling the doorknobs? Dogs don't have thumbs. How did the dogs turn off the lights? The ghost dogs attacked Sally multiple times, but they only attacked Nancy once. Why did the culprit decide to stop using the ghost dogs to scare people away? Nancy could totally walk across here. She's just being picky about the floorboards for no reason. Nobody cares that a creepy old birdwatcher is staying on Sally's property without her permission.
I just heard a cerulean warbler.
No, you didn't. The cerulean warbler sleeps at night. Red only looks for birds at nighttime when it's dark and most birds are asleep. Nancy does everyone else's chores cliche. Why did Red leave his cassette player with Emily? Why did Red leave his cassette player but keep his tape? Tapes are useless without a player. If Red is a professional bird watcher, why does he need a tape to recognize birds? The Western Tanager is not native to Pennsylvania. Emily's store does movie rentals, but her notebook says she rents movies from other stores. Ranger Akers' pants are visible from here, but not here.
Any idea what would make a dog's eyes glow yellow?
The game wants you to think the dog's eyes were yellow when they were clearly green. Ranger Akers claims to be busy, but all he does is stand behind his desk. What is he doing at his desk anyway? It looks like he's touching something, but there's nothing on the desk in front of him. Akers' desk disappears. Akers' desk disappears a second time. Ranger Akers is so vain, he put his own biography on the Moon Lake computer. The page on Roman numerals is listed under Creation of Moon Lake State Park, under History of Moon Lake. Neither of those headings have anything to do with Roman numerals. The computer says all boats must display a permit, but Nancy's boat doesn't. Red's cassette player doesn't have the standard pause and fast forward buttons. Red's cassette player doesn't have a record button, so how did he record his tape of bird calls? Red complains that the platform gives him splinters in his butt, even though he sits on a cushioned stool, not the platform.
Tweet, tweet!
Nancy knows that loud noises scare birds, but she still shouts at them to get their attention. It is counterintuitive that the game requires you to fail the bird challenge before you can complete the bird challenge.
You're wearing those clothes. That's what you're doing wrong.
Red criticizes Nancy's clothing when his clothes are clearly reused from Nancy Drew number 5. Nancy needs to find a dozen critters so she can get camouflage gear, so she can get all of Red's bird pictures, so she can get the spark plug, so she can test the water in Sally's well. That is 4 chores for the price of 1. This giant chore run takes up over half the game. The critters puzzle is long and tedious because you have to search every single spot in the woods twice, once at night and once during the day. And if you miss a critter, you're forced to do the entire search again. The bird puzzle also requires you to search the woods multiple times. Some of the critters in the woods are not actually in the woods. This puzzle. Nancy finds a hidden passageway cliche. Nancy doesn't question the obvious doorway that is built into this wall. Nancy thinks Akers' dog is suspicious even though it looks nothing like the ghost dogs. Akers' desk disappears again. The Roman numerals puzzle. William Akers had the dog map for 9 years, but he never figured out there was a connection between the map and the tile picture of the map. There's a space before the sentence in the text box, which messes up the text alignment and bothers me way more than it should.
Well, according to my bird map...
Red made Nancy find birds for him when he had a bird map the entire time. Red doesn't share his bird map with Nancy, even though she asks him for help with the bird challenge twice. Red is a jerk. The culprit just happens to be at Sally's house when Nancy first sees the speaker. Nancy's not wearing camouflage gear anymore. When and where did she change clothes? Nancy's mom jeans. Even with her ankles tied together, Nancy should be able to stand up and hop away. Everything in the shed is old and worn out, except the scythe, because the plot requires it to be sharp. Have you ever tried sawing a rope on a blade that's lying on the ground when you can't use your hands because they're crossed and tied together behind your back? It's not as easy as this game would have you think. Nobody cares that Nancy was almost murdered. The culprit isn't charged with attempted murder. Small splash of water puts out a large fire. Splashing water on the outside of the shed puts out a fire on the inside of the shed. Why is Red Knott here during the daytime?
Probably smoke inhalation or something.
That's a serious medical condition, Red. You should call 911 immediately. Red asks Nancy to meet him later so he can check his camera's okay. Red is a jerk. Akers gives Nancy a ticket because someone tried to murder her. Akers is a jerk. You know which character from the final scene I wanted to see in a second game? Not Eustacia and Drop Off. Manually dialing 10-digit phone numbers. Nancy's flashlight dies at the crucial moment cliche. Combo Cola has over 100 recommendations for how to display their sodas. Obsessive much? That doesn't look much like a fish to me. If a person buys a single can of cola, the fish display is ruined. A whole lot of work for nothing. Emily gives you 4 big batteries just for moving around soda cans. Doesn't she know how expensive batteries are? The speakeasy has been abandoned for over 30 years, but the electricity seems to be working just fine. This puzzle. Opening the door to the well also opens the door to Emily's lair. Why are those 2 doors connected? Since both doors are connected, how did Emily open the one door but not the other? The game doesn't explain how Emily found this underground tunnel. She clearly didn't take the same route that Nancy did. Emily's notebook proves she had the 4 dogs long before she built the secret tunnel kennel. Nobody ever mentions this. Emily suddenly stops putting dates in her notebook, probably to cover for the fact that she spent several months doing nothing. This puzzle. Nancy finds lost treasure cliche. In the ending, Emily's dialogue has line breaks. Everywhere else in the game, the text runs to the far side of the text box.
I called the sheriff.
Which apparently was not a possibility until just now. How did the news van get past the fallen maple? Preview of the next game makes it seem way scarier than it actually is. Gamebox promises over 20 hours of gameplay. Gamebox promises over 30 puzzles. Credits leave a blurry blue box behind them instead of leaving the background intact like all the other games do.